Good day everybody, my name is Daniel, and in today's lesson we're going to be going through more C++ concepts. In this video particularly, we're going to be focusing on assignment operators. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so basically what's going to happen is that I'm going to explain all the different ways in which you can assign variables, assign values to variables. Okay, so obviously start a new project, create a new project, and now you have this boilerplate over here. Now just run your program to make sure that it actually works, and if it does, then you can close or exit out of your program. Okay, so first things first, how do we declare a variable? If you remember from the previous lesson, okay, so how we declare a variable, we want to declare an integer. We'll say int var 1, for instance. And how do you assign a value to variable 1? You'll say var 1 is equals to maybe a number, random number 20. Okay, and how do you print that value? We'll say std cout, and then you'll say var 1, and then std end line, and then okay, let's just run this, and you'll see that you have your value 20 over here. Okay, so okay, just close the program after you're done running it so that you don't have any issues. Okay, just gonna make this a little bit bigger. All right, now with that being said, how can we what are the different ways of assigning variables? So let's start with increment. Okay, so let me just get rid of this out. Let's use increment. So let's just say we wanted to add 1 on top of this 20, or 1 to this variable var 1. Okay, what I would do is I would say let's say increment. What you would do is that you would say var 1, and then you would say plus plus, just like that. And basically plus plus basically says increment, meaning add 1 to this number over here. As you can imagine, this only really works with number type of variables like floats and integers. You can kind of experiment if you want to increment a string or what will happen. So but let's just output that std cout. I'm gonna output var 1 std end line. And remember guys, you don't have to use std. If you don't like typing out this std, you can always say using namespace std, and if you do that, what's gonna happen is that you don't have to type out this std all the time. You can just get rid of it. I'll just make an example like that. Okay, so let's run this, and here we have 21 over there. So that's just increment. So this just adds one value to the variable. I'll do it again. I'll add another line of code, var 1 plus plus semicolon at the end, and then I run that, and then there we go. Now we have 22. So it was 20, 1 got added, it became 21, 1 got added, it became 22. Very simple. So another way you can increment is you can say var 1 plus equals to 1. Now this is when you want to increment by 1, right? Now if I run that, now obviously here we incremented once, we incremented twice, and then here we basically incremented the third time. Now if I go back to the program that I just ran, and you can see here that it works. Now the value is 23. So that basically works like that. It's very simple. The standard way of incrementing obviously would be var 1 is equals to var 1 plus 1. So basically whatever's in var 1, you take that value and you add 1 to it, and then you put it back into var 1. So if you have 20 and you only perform this line, then you would get 21. You see, so these are all the different ways of incrementing. You need to be familiar with it. Even if your standard way of incrementing is just one of these, that's fine. It doesn't matter which one you use, so long as you understand that there are different ways of incrementing. Okay, so next we're gonna move over to this is basically summing up numbers. we're going to move over to negation, right? So I'm just going to move over and say another assignment statement is negation. Basically, what happens here is that you want to subtract a value from a variable. So I'll declare another variable int negator, right? So let's just say negator is a variable and it's equals to 30, for instance. Let's just use 30. Just fix that. So negator is equals to 30. Now let's decrease this number by 1, for instance. How the standard way of doing it would be negator negator is equals to negator minus 1, for instance. So it's just a variable is equals to 30, and just say negator equals to negator minus 1, and then let me print it out. Std cout. Can't use std. Let me just use cout. I'll say negator end line, like that. So I'm just printing out what the negator is equals to. So we should see that's 30, and we subtract 1. Let's see what we get. You'll get it. Negator variable is equals to 29. You see that? And I made a little typo like that. So now it's 30 minus 1. So there are different ways in which you can negate as well. The other way is you can say instead of this way, let's just get rid of this way and say negator is equals to minus equals to 1, or you can say minus equals to any value that you want to subtract it by, right? And if you run this program, you will see that we get the exact same result. Negator variable is equals to 29. That's another way of minusing or subtracting using a different assignment statement or assignment operator. Basically it's this. And as you guessed, if we all move over to multiplication, if I say multiplication, I can say int multiplier, right? I'll say the variable value multiplier is equals to, let's just say that this is 5, for instance, and we want to have this value be multiplied by more values. Maybe we want to multiply by 2, for instance. So we'll say multiplier is multiply equals to whatever value, let's say 2, right? So obviously what would happen here is that it would be 5 times 2, and then that would be stored in the multiplier variable. So let me just create another cout over here, right? Let me just say multiplier variable, and okay, multiplier variable is equals to multiplier. Did I spell it correct? Okay, there we go. So say I say 5 and then I multiply and add by 2. Oh, basically how this works, guys, is that what happens is that it starts off as 5, right? And then the 5 is so this value, it becomes equals to value multiplied by 5, like that. So basically if you start off with 5, it'll be multiplied by 2. It'll be value equals to value multiplied by 2, and then that result is stored in value again. So as you can imagine, it'll be, it starts off as 5, and then it's equals to 5 multiplied by 2. So basically we have 5 times 2, which is 10, and then 10 gets added, not added, but it becomes the result of this variable. So now this will be 10. And then if you keep doing this, right, say for example now your value, if we add another line here and say multiplier, right, multiply equals by 3, for instance, what ends up happening here is that now the value starts off as 10. Remember, we did this operation here, so it starts off as 10, and then we're basically saying equals to 10 because value is 10, and then we're multiplying it by 3. So we're going to say by 3, and then basically this turns to 10 times 3, which is 30, gets added back into the value, which is now becomes 30. So basically this is what happens. So let's run that to verify if it actually works. And guess what? It does. Multiply a variable is equals to 30. I encourage you guys to keep playing around with these assignment operators, the addition, the subtraction, the multiplication, and also the division one. We're not going to get into the division because I think you guys get the idea of how these work. So now we're going to work on a simple program. Okay, I'm going to comment out these lines so that we don't have any disturbances. I'm going to run that and see if all my lines have been commented out. Okay, great. So we're going to create a little program, right? Example program. So the example program is that what we want is that I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it here. So we want to write a program that, given only the seconds, right, as an integer, how many minutes and seconds are there? How many minutes and seconds are there? So obviously you have 60 seconds in a minute, right? If you have 60 seconds, how many minutes are there and how many seconds are left? You have exactly 1 minute and 0 seconds. So, but if you're given 62 seconds, how many minutes and how many seconds? Then you realize that you have 1 minute, but then you have 2 seconds left. So that's basically what I want, the minute and the second variable printed out on the screen. If you think you can solve it, pause the video, go ahead and try it out, and then I'm going to solve it right now. So I'm going to declare some variables. I'm going to declare a variable called minutes and seconds, right? I'm going to say int minutes, int seconds, and I'm going to say we want to take a variable from the user also. Let's just have something, make it a real application, for example. So let's just say cout, enter the total number of seconds. Let's end line. Okay, so we're gonna say cin, we're gonna take in seconds. That's the variable that we take, and then from this seconds variable, let me just change this to total minutes and total seconds. Yes, total minutes and total seconds. So these are the seconds, let me say seconds input, right? Just so that we don't confuse these total seconds and total minutes, total seconds, and the seconds input. This is our input variable. This is what we get from the user. So now let's take the seconds input and calculate or derive how many minutes and how many seconds we get. How can we do that? So firstly, remember I said 60 seconds, and then you can basically get 1 minute out of the 60 seconds. You basically use the division operator. Okay, so what you can do here is that you can say total minutes is equals to the seconds input divided by 60, for instance, right? So basically in total minutes, let's just output that, cout total minutes are total minutes, like that. Okay, so let's just run that and see if that actually works. So enter the total number of seconds. We're gonna say 60. We'll enter, and then it says the total minutes are 1. Let's make another example, and maybe this time say we want 70 seconds. Enter, it still says 1. Let's go 120. I'm gonna run it one more time, 120. I enter, and it says the total minutes are 2. So it does calculate it correctly. Now let's now calculate the total number of seconds. So what I can do is that I can say total seconds, right, are, how you get this is that you can say is equals to total seconds, is equals to seconds input. This is what we got. Modulus 60, and I'll explain what modulus is in a second. Let's just run that for a second, and let's just give it maybe 65 seconds just to see what it gives us. Actually, this won't work because we're not actually outputting it. Let's just add total minutes are this, and then total seconds are this. See, our total seconds are total seconds. There we go. All right, let's just run that. We're going to use 65 because it's very easy to understand how many seconds and minutes are in 65 seconds. You have 1 minute and 5 seconds. Okay, so let's say 65, enter, and there we go. Total minutes are 1, total seconds are 5. So these are basically assignment operators. Now, how does modulus work? How did it get that 5? How did it get that 5? So basically, this operator is called the modulus operator, right? And how it works is that given a number, 100, and basically if you divide 100 by 10, right, what you get is 10, right? But you get 10 and no remainder, right? However, let's just say, let's just give another example. You have the number 7 and you divide that 7 by 3. What you get if you just use the divide is that you're going to get 2 with how many remainders? 1 remainder. So remainder, okay, what? Remainder, what? Remainder, okay, wow. All right, never mind, you get what I mean. So you get 1 as a remainder. So basically what modulus does is that it'll give you the remainder. So basically if we say 7 divided by 3, you'll get 2. But if you say 7 mod 3, you won't get 2, you'll get the remainder, which is 1 in this case. Another example would be if you say 9 mod what's the mod 2. Well, the answer that you will get here is that it'll be 2, 4, 6, 8, and then what's the remainder? It's 1. Still, you'll get 1 as a remainder. But let's just give another example. If you were to say 9 mod 3, then you will not get any remainder. Why? Because 3 fits exactly perfectly into 9. So basically that's what happens here. So since we want the remainder, the remaining seconds, if total minutes cannot be total seconds, you can add them to the minutes, then you just want whatever is remaining, and in this case with 65 the remainder will be 5. So that's what you get here, and you should really try and understand this concept because modulus is going to be used in more and more programs the more you code. So you don't have to worry, we're going to cover all of that, more examples as time goes on throughout the semester. Okay, so basically this is it. I'll give you one last task that you guys should do, and this is what it is. So this is your homework problem. Your homework problem states, write a program that given 2 times, by times what I mean is you're given maybe time like 2 minutes 15 seconds, and also maybe you're given 4 minutes 12 seconds, right? These are times like 2 minutes 15 seconds, 4 minutes 12 seconds, or whatever. Calculate the total minutes and seconds added. So you need to have them like num1 plus num2, like that. But what I want is that given these 2 numbers or these 2 times, I want the total number of minutes and seconds. So how it's going to work is that in totality this particular example would be equals to 6 minutes and 27 seconds, for example. And if you can solve this, then you know how to use modulus properly, you know how to use the division operator properly, and you know how to use the addition operator properly. So that's just a little example that you guys should take along. So without any further ado, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.